Matthew Stuckey here, and I wanted to make a quick video just giving you 3 reasons why the Apostle Peter did not believe in a pre-tribulational rapture. 3 reasons why the Apostle Peter did not believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. One character in the Bible that clearly didn't believe in a pre-tribulation rapture was Peter. Here are your top 3 reasons why. Number 1, Peter was told that he would be martyred when he became an old man. One of the big aspects of the pre-tribulation rapture is the imminent return of Jesus, that it can happen at any moment, that nothing needs to take place, and nothing could be further from the truth because there are many things that needed to take place, and some of those have happened, and many things have not happened yet. But one thing that Peter knew was that he would be martyred as an old man. It says in John 21 verse 18, "Verily, verily, I say unto thee, when thou wast young, thou girdest thyself, and walkest whither thou wouldest. But when thou shalt be old, thou shalt stretch forth thy hands, and another shall gird thee, and carry thee whither thou wouldest not." You say, well, how do you know that's talking about him being martyred? Verse 19, "This spake he, signifying by what death he should glorify God. And when he had spoken this, he saith unto him, Follow me." And so the Bible's very clear there in verse 19. This is the death that he's going to glorify God with, talking about him being martyred. And you can cross-reference in John 13 if you want to go more in depth, and it's very clear as you compare those 2 chapters that Jesus is bringing back Peter's memory to the fact that he denied him 3 times as he prophesied. Because right before those verses in John 21, it talks about how he says 3 times, "Do you love me?" And then Peter's, very sad when he says it to him the 3rd time. He's grieved, the Bible says. And so it's very clear here, this is talking about the martyring of Peter. And so Peter knew, well, wait a minute, it can't be an imminent return. So the number one reason Peter knew it was not a pre-tribulation rapture is he knew he'd be martyred. Number 2, though, is the book of 1 Peter focuses quite a bit on the suffering that takes place in our lifetime. Actually, the last 2 instances of the word happy in the Bible appear in 1 Peter, and it talks about, suffering being associated with that. 1 Peter 3 verse 14, "But and if ye suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are ye, and be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled." So it talks about suffering for righteousness' sake and being happy. 1 Peter 4 verses 13 and 14, "But rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's suffering, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy." So when his glory is going to be revealed, referring to when the rapture takes place, "If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye." And so it talks about being happy when you're reproached for the name of Christ, and you're seeing suffering associated with being happy. But here's the thing, if Peter is talking about how we're going to suffer in this lifetime and be persecuted, then does it make any sense for him to believe, well, wait a minute, we're not going to go through any tribulation, because during the end, there's going to be this special group of people that get to escape all of the persecution and tribulation, even though throughout the entire Bible, people are going through tribulation. They're being persecuted. So Peter spoke about the persecution we're going to go through, so it would make no sense for him to believe in a pre-tribulational rapture where we escape all the tribulation. So point number 1, why Peter did not believe in a pre-tribulational rapture, is he knew he would be martyred, meaning that he knew the imminent return of Jesus was a hoax. Number 2, because he talks about suffering all throughout the book of Peter. And number 3, because he was there for the Olivet Discourse, which is mentioned in several Gospels, but in Matthew 24 is probably the most famous reference. And so he was there when Jesus spoke about the return, that Jesus was going to come back. And here's what Jesus said. Verse 1, "And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" So it's very clear they're asking Jesus Christ about his return, of thy coming, and of the end of the world. And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. It's pretty similar to how in 2 Thessalonians 2 it says, Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. The Antichrist has not been revealed yet, so obviously the return of Jesus could not take place yet. But it says, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Now the biggest example is the Antichrist, which is going to take place before the return of Jesus, according to 2 Thessalonians 2. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Later on in Matthew 24, as it just goes chronologically in order, verse 21, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So it's going to be the biggest tribulation that has ever taken place. And if the days were not shortened, no flesh, body, is going to be saved. What that's indicating is if the rapture was not going to take place, we would all be killed by the Antichrist when we refuse to take the abomination of desolation. Going to verse 29, then it tells us the exact timing of this. It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So it's clearly referring to the rapture that's taking place, and the context in verse 29 says immediately after the tribulation. Now, pre-trib people will often like to quote verse 36 where it says, but of that day and hour knoweth no man, no not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. And that is true. I don't know the day or the hour. I'm not claiming to. However, the context of verse 36 is going back to verse 29 immediately after the tribulation. We know it is after the tribulation, but we don't know the day or the hour. That doesn't negate the fact that we do know that there are certain things that must take place. Peter knew he had to be martyred. 2 Thessalonians 2 says the Antichrist must be revealed, and he's going to declare himself to be God. We're going to have the abomination of desolation. Those things have not taken place yet. I mean, obviously Peter died, but the Antichrist has not been revealed yet. He's not declared himself to be God. So these must take place. We do not know the day or the hour, but we know it's immediately after the tribulation. So the three reasons the Apostle Peter did not believe in a pre-tribulation rapture is, number one, he knew he'd be martyred, meaning that it was not an imminent return of Jesus. Number two, he talks about suffering throughout the entire book of Peter, showing that he believed Christians are going to go through persecution. And number three, because he was there for the Olivet Discourse when Jesus very clearly said it's going to be after the tribulation, linking back to the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world. So Jesus is going to come back, but not before the tribulation. It is going to be after the tribulation. Thank you, and God bless.